Hey everyone, welcome to Radium number 2. There was a lot of confusion surrounding the release of Radium and the first build. So to all those who comment negatively, I just have one thing to say, a quote from me. It is infinitely more difficult to create something than it is to destroy something. So see if you can wrap your head around that. As you can see, some amazing components here. Radium is just another way that I can share my passion and my knowledge. And just like every other system that I build, if the customer is willing to donate the time, I will do a build log. It might be every 5th Radium, every 10th, we'll just have to wait and see. We have the Corsair HX 1000i. Now, obviously, it's all about what the customer wants. Some Radiums are going to be more high-end than others, just like every one of my builds. We have, for the radiators, EK Coolstream SE360s, a very slim, low-profile radiator, which is important for this build because of the case, the Fantex Enthu Evolve ATX tempered glass. Now, I've seen an alarming trend from basically all of the case manufacturers at the same time, well, almost all of them. A lot of the new cases don't properly support water cooling anymore. It took so long to get the manufacturers to support water cooling for them to wake up. You know, the first cases to properly support it, the Cosmos S, Corsair Obsidian 800D, and it's since then been decent, but now it seems to be going backwards, at least some of the cases, well, a lot of the new ones. And it seems that the manufacturers are designing their cases to only support all-in-ones or to kind of restrict water cooling. And of course, they also have their own all-in-ones. So I guess their plan is to push some of the newbies in that direction, but it's not going to stop water cooling. You know, we're just going to continue modifying as us enthusiasts have always done. We have an incredible array of beautiful looking EK water blocks, nickel plexi as always, and we have water blocks for the graphics cards. There will also be black backplates, but they haven't arrived yet. We have the EK Supremacy Evo, and yes, I am going to be water cooling the memory, and yes, I know that it is kind of pointless, but some people do like the way it looks, which I can totally understand. I am a minimalist, but I mean, all of that extra beautiful billet nickel-plated water block, extra coolant, fittings, tube, everything that we love to see, I mean, it can't do any harm. And it is going to draw extra heat away from the motherboard area, even if it is only a little bit. We have a 32 gig kit of Corsair Vengeance LED 3466 C16 memory, 2 ASUS Strix GTX 1080s going into the build in SLI, and I'm not really for the whole crazy RGB trend. You know, it's just RGB everything now, but I do really like the RGB lighting on these stock coolers, the way it's been integrated. You know, all of the logos glow, and I like the ASUS software, the Aura software, which from within your operating system you can use to control the RGB lighting on all of your ASUS RGB components. You can synchronize them. It's great. Amazing looking configs. How many times have I said that? But EK just does an awesome job. Corsair SP120 fans. A lot of people are asking me why I'm still using them when Corsair has a number of new fans out now. Well, some people just don't want to spend the extra on the ML fans. And these are just a great practical fan. They're a little bit on the loud side, but the specs are kind of well placed. I do have the 2350 RPM version here, but that's because I'm using the Aquaro and I'm going to be setting up fan curves. So it is kind of nice to have that extra headroom just in case it's needed. You can see that I've done a little mod to these fans, just the little touches that we always do in our builds. Now this component was extremely important for this build. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to achieve one of the customer's main requests, which was dual loops. Because the Singularity Computers Ethereal Dual, and this is the silver version, is actually the only way that you can install dual loops into a mid-tower case currently with tube reservoirs, because it allows you to install tube reservoirs side by side onto a radiator. We have a new component here from Bits Power. I have been using their pump and reservoir combos for so long now. I think they haven't changed in like 6 years. And anyone who's familiar with my builds knows that I absolutely love these combos. I mean, I swear by them. I've used them in basically every single build unless requested otherwise. But it's confusing for a lot of people because you need to purchase 5 different components to actually make up the pump and res combo in a configuration that you can, that's properly usable. And I've explained this to so many people. I've had so many questions about this combo. I'm sure I've done Bits Power an incredibly massive favor by doing this for the last 5 years. But I love the combo, and to see the new components, I have to be honest. A lot of people have asked me about these, and it was going to be difficult to surpass their other combo. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these. The quality is awesome. They look great. They're kind of minimalistic. I really do like them. It's just that, as I said, it's hard to surpass the old ones, but I am seeing something. A lot of people complain about price just all the time. This kind of pushes manufacturers in the direction of simplifying things, and that's what I'm seeing here. We have a new component from Singularity Computers, Protium, our new reservoir. Now, this is only part really of the component, because we also have D5 and DDC pump tops coming out soon, which attach directly to these reservoirs, and also covers for the DDC and D5. Now, these come in 5 different versions. The rings come in black and silver, and the caps come in frosted acrylic, polished acrylic, and acetal. I'm going to do an overview video and explain all of our products soon. We have the Aquarius 6 Pro, not the XT, which I normally use. There are actually 3 different versions of this now. The Lite, which is just the PCB without the screen, which is really all you need. It gives you all of the functionality. You don't need the screen because you set up the Aquarius from within your operating system through the Aquarius software. And then we have the Pro, which is only missing the remote. It has slightly different aesthetics compared to the XT. We also have the Fabwerk for lighting. Now, when the customer ordered this build, he actually ordered the 6700K and a Z170 motherboard, and the next day, Z270 and the 7700K was released. So I said, why don't we upgrade? He agreed, and we upgraded to the 7700K and the ASUS Maximus 9 formula. So this is not actually the top of the range board. There's also the Extreme above this. But what an incredible motherboard. And what I'm seeing from ASUS now is very exciting. More support for water cooling. I mean, if anyone ever wants to design a water cooling motherboard, feel free to contact me. I will help you out. But ASUS has definitely done a great job here. And this is definitely a step in the right direction, although there is a lot more that could be done here. But it's just amazing to see them outdoing themselves every time. See there where it says CPU, DRAM, VGA, and boot, they're actually LEDs. And during boot, when those components are polled or started, if there's a problem, the LED lights up and you know exactly where the problem is. I find this to be one of the most useful diagnostic features when you have problems. It just immediately tells you where the problem is. The diagnostic features on ROG boards are some of the best I've seen, and the most useful, not gimmicks. But the water cooling features on this board, I mean, we have headers for flow, a couple of them, temp sensor headers, a pump header specifically for a pump. It is great to see. It's very exciting. It's kind of the first time I've seen it taken this far. We also have ASUS and EK working together, very exciting, on a few different motherboards now. I mean, this is not new. They're also working with Gigabyte, but it is really good to see water blocks developed specifically for a motherboard to fit the aesthetics and optimized for the board. So we have an EK water block on this motherboard. Absolutely great looking water block too, fully integrated into the shroud. And just take a look at the connectivity on this board. Awesome as always, and I love this new feature of having the rear I/O cover panel integrated into the cover as well. I mean, this is the way it should have been from the start. No use having a separate panel. Shroud on the back of the board as well. So we have the Intel Core i7 7700K. Also the Samsung 850 EVO 500GB M.2. I know exactly what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, why not the 960 Pro M.2? Well, every build has a budget, and this is more of a gaming-oriented build. So, it went more into the graphics cards and the performance of the loop so that we could do some more overclocking. And I would absolutely love to delid this CPU, and hopefully that is something I will be doing, but we'll wait and see. Definitely something I'll be doing in the future, I recently delidded a 6950X. Make sure you check out that video. I'll put a link on the screen. So I put it in a vise and actually, basically broke the thing open. And I've heard that with the 7700K, you can get some really amazing results doing this. And this is actually a great little CPU. I'm very surprised to see the overclocking potential. Am I going to show how I do my thermal paste? Oh, there you go. He's doing it wrong. I know, that's what you're thinking. Well, I've been doing this for 15 years and I just settle on the way things work best, out of all of my testing. And I have tried every technique. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to get involved in the thermal paste argument. Just no comment. I'm rotating the CPU water block 90 degrees anti-clockwise. And to people who are switched on, this may give you the idea that I've already planned out the loop, as in the tubing routing and the component order. But that is not the case. I never do that unless the build is heavily modified. If it's heavily modified, you often have to design the loop to begin with, if you care about the loop. Some people just do heavily modified builds and then the loop just ends up however it ends up, but that's not something I like to do. But I don't actually plan out my loops until all of the components are installed, until the latest possible moment, right when I'm starting the loop. And then I get a feel for the components. I stick to the rules that I've mentioned many times before. Take the shortest route, go around in a circle, never cross tube. And, it just kind of happens. I've done it so many times that I don't really think about it anymore. Now, you're looking at just one of the many extra things that I do. And for me, the problem is never not doing enough. It's always doing too much. And I'm not just saying that. It's actually a serious problem for me because it's had a real negative impact on Singularity Computers as a business. And I have actually told Johan, who's working with me here, to actually hold me back because I just can't help myself. I always push things too far and, it has a real impact. I have to start thinking about other things and not just the passion for all of this. And so, all the little details, the extras that you get, and the trolls first of all say, well, there's no way it's worth that, but then they don't realize the time that goes in. But then when they do kind of find out about the time that goes in, they'll just say, oh, well, that's pointless anyway. Well, if you don't think there's a reason for it, then it's lost on you and you're never going to understand it. This is what being an enthusiast is all about. This is what we're trying to do, going to an extreme, just like with every other hobby, whether it's cars or whatever else, you take it as far as you can. And, that is what full custom cables, every single wire strand custom from the ground up, everything that we do is all about. Right now, we're actually measuring out for the custom cables and they need to be within 5 millimeters. So it's very important that you have a good technique for measuring up. And I've gone through this a few times previously. But that's it for this part of the build log. Thanks for watching. And remember that none of this would be possible without our patrons.